Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Talk with Antonio. I'm your host, Antonio. First, before I get started, I just want to apologize. I didn't record last week. Technically, I did, but I was not happy with with the finished product, and also I've been busy still with packing, and since I'm in the process of moving. But yeah, I just want to apologize to the people that listen to my podcast. Sorry about that. But yeah, I am back. And this week's episode is going to be somewhat hard to talk about because of what happened to the events of last week. I'm going to ask a question. And you think about this for 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Is the United States under attack right now? And what do I mean by that? And this is what I mean. Right now, the United States right now, I feel, the people are going to say, no, it's not. It's other people who support this fucking administration. And they support the actions of this terrorist group named ICE. And here comes the question right now, ladies and gentlemen. Is the United States right now under attack by ICE? Me personally, yes, I believe so. And why do I say that? It's because right now, the people who voted for this guy knew that this guy with this in the second right now, as soon as he came in, he was going to use everything in his power to fund and use every dollar right now, taxpayers' money dollar, to fund this terrorist organization. The ICE group, because that's what they are. They're nothing more than a bunch of fascist pigs right now who have an abuse of power, and they treat people like less, especially like minorities. If you're either Latino descent, Asian, even if you're any other minority, you can imagine. And before I get started, what I'm going to be talking about right now, I'm going to be talking about the tragedy right now of the death of Renee Good. What a tragic death. But before I get started with this, I want to ask y'all for 1 second, if you ever think about this, because I've seen ICE in action once last year here in Southern California, where I'm at. And I was in Lancashire Boulevard doing my regular work, and there's a hotel there called Comfort Inn, I believe, and ICE was there. You see all like the suburban the white vans, and they even had like the U.S. government license plates, and I thought, yep, that's fucking ICE right there. And so far that's like the only time that I've seen, but they're everywhere right now. They're spreading all over like cockroaches. They're like ICE right now, under the leadership of this guy right now. ICE right now they're like everything what they're around especially right now in the state of Minnesota, here in the state of California. It's spreading like the fucking plague right now. And people who handle it, Trump, that pathetic little Jew, Stephen Miller, that pathetic plastic twat named Christine Nolan, whatever the fuck her name is. I don't care how to pronounce her name. She is just a fucking a senseless, cold twat. And I'm sorry for my language, but that's how I feel about that lady. No respect whatsoever. And right now, to get into the topic of this senseless killing, and I feel for this, for her family, for her kids, the senseless killing of Renee Good, a United States citizen that was killed by a pathetic excuse for an agent named Jonathan Moss. He fucking killed her, shoot her point blank in her face. And I've seen the video how when they fucking shot her. And then when they shot her and there was a doctor trying to help her, they did not allow her to get help. They basically just fucking killed her. And especially right now, how they treat women, how they get them out and they fucking beat them and get on top with their knees on their back. Like right now, it's like history repeating itself right now. What happened with George Floyd, especially with that fucking cop, how he put the knee on that dude's on George Floyd's neck, and I've seen ICE agents doing the same fucking shit, and they don't do anything to train them now. And you know the sad part is that the majority of these fucking ICE agents are all white supremacists. January 6th conspiracy theorists, like that pathetic soy boy piece of shit named Enrique Tarrio from the Proud Boys. He's in ICE now. He's damn proud of it. And the you know, like, it's funny how they're all like covered up. They all wear sunglasses and they're all wearing masks. And you know, it's funny how the same people who are against masks years ago during COVID, now they're saying, oh, we have a right to wear masks. But back then, it's like, no, it's my body, my choice. Now, they talk about hypocrisy. They talk about the biggest hypocrites that they are. And you know, the sad part about those ICE agents is that, yes, they're, like I said, there's racist white people. There's January 6th conspiracy theorists like that fucking soy boy Enrique Tarrio. And the majority of them, I've actually seen them, and I've seen how they detain, kidnap people, especially Latino Americans. And the majority of the sad part, the majority are all fucking of Latino. They're all of Mexican, Guatemalan, Salvadorian descent. And for what, though? For the $50,000 bonus that they get, supposedly? That's the reason they join? They kidnap, they brutalize people, they take them to a detention center, and they get deported. And you know, it's funny right now that they arrested Native Americans, ladies and gentlemen, mind fucking you. Native Americans. What the fuck are they going to deport them to? Can you answer that? ICE arrested Native fucking Americans. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is fucking infuriating. And you know, right now, no one does anything right now. We have, because they're so-called federal agents. They're protected. They think they're above the law. They're untouchable. They act like they're almighty, and they can treat people like less thans. And right now and you know, it's funny how that plastic twat says that, Kristi Noem, that we're going to have to start carrying papers. Why? I'm a United States citizen. I was born and raised in the United States. But yet somehow I have to prove my citizenship to these fucking pigs? What the fuck are they going to deport me to? I have a birth certificate. I have a social security. I have a driver's license. What the fuck are they going to deport me to? Answer me that. And just because I look brown and I don't look white, they're gonna arrest me. They're gonna detain me for what? Just because I didn't present my papers? This is fucking ridiculous. You know, they're like right now. A lot of people are comparing right now to Nazi Germany right now, especially what happened to the poor Jewish people over there when these fucking monsters of the soldiers. The Jewish people had to carry their papers in their pocket. Why do we have to prove our citizenship, especially to these fucking racist white people like Kristi Noem, Stephen Miller, J.D. Vance, Donald Trump? And yet they say that they're all illegals or all invaders and all that stuff. And you know what? You know, I would like to say something to you, Kristi Noem, whatever the fuck your last name is. I don't know, nor do I care to say this. You say that people from other countries are all invaders, criminals and all that stuff. If you think about this for 1 second, lady, you know how I always say that the Native Americans are the real Americans, and you racist white people came here and stole native land and put the Native Americans on a reservation. If you want to talk about invaders, Kristi, Look at yourself. A perfect example. Like you fucking racist white people idolize Christopher Columbus. Now that right there is a perfect example of an invader right there. He got lost coming here. He started calling people natives Indians because he thought he was in India. So if you people, I'm not saying all white people. I'm not saying all white people are racist. I'm talking about the racist ones right there. If you think about this for 1 second, Christy, look yourself in the mirror, and how do you sleep at night? How the fuck do you sleep at night? Knowing the fact that you're taking people, you're giving orders, tearing people apart, and yet now you're also kidnapping kids. Look what happened last week at Target. Those fucking agents beat the living fuck out of a 17-year-old United States citizen, and they put him in handcuffs, treat him like a criminal, and then they throw him in the street like without even a fucking apology. How low have we come in this country, you know? Especially right now, who's in charge? It just really angers me that people like you is right now enjoying all this stuff, and you're doing all these luxury trips and all that stuff. You bought planes with my fucking tax money. And you know what, lady? You can walk around all happy and stuff because you're taking orders from this orange orangutan. Right now you're having your moment. I'm not gonna be like you guys bitching and complaining that Trump won. Like you know how like President Biden won 2020 election, whether you like it or not. All of y'all MAGA say that 2020, and yet somehow you guys are still complaining about 2020 election. That's over. Your precious Trump lost 2020 election, but yet when Vice President Harris lost, I accepted it. You know, I'm not the one saying, "Oh, the election was rigged." Did you hear one Democrat say that the election was rigged? No, it wasn't. But you Republicans, especially like those people who kiss the ass and suck the cock of Trump, keep saying it was rigged. But once this administration leaves, because let's be realistic, J.D. Vance has no chance of hell of winning the 2028 election. No chance in hell. No chance in hell. And yet, and Trump thinks that he's going to run for 2028. This dude's ain't even going to last. He's fucking slurring. He's sleeping his ass off. He says rambling stuff, taking over Greenland. And like right now, he just got a hand-me-down Nobel Peace Prize. But in reality, he didn't even want it. It was just a hand-me-down. It's not real. Well, the guy who really won it, the guy that Trump hates so much, President Barack Obama, won it for real. He didn't ask for a hand-me-down like this guy did. And right now he's posing his smiles. And he in reality, he didn't want it. For the Nobel Peace Prize, how dare you guys say that? He deserved it. If you think that he deserves it because of a peace prize, he look what he's doing right here in this country right now. Sending his fucking goon squad to fucking beat the living shit out of people here in California and the state of Minnesota. All this Gestapo tactics you motherfuckers are doing, the way you act, that ain't right, you know. That ain't fucking right. But every time I see shit like this, I know this will pass. Right now we're living, especially the people like who didn't vote for this guy. And now people who voted for this guy are bitching and complaining, motherfuckers. And now you voted for this guy, now deal with it. And the sad part is we who didn't vote for this guy have to pick up the broken plates and fix everything, you know? But, you know, it's just whatever. Nothing, you know, like right now we just got to keep on trucking. Like my favorite person says, keep on trucking because right now this ain't going to last. And you know what's going on right now in the state of Minnesota? like last week, what happened? This is such a fucking senseless killing that happened over there in Minnesota. The senseless killing of a young lady that goes by the name of Renee Good. On January 7th, 2026, 37-year-old American citizen Renee Good was shot by an ICE agent named cocksucker Jonathan Ross in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And she was in her car. She was stopped sideways in the street when Ross rode around her vehicle, and he returned on foot. These other cockroaches approached, and they ordered to get out of the car. Why? And she was just driving. And this young lady said to him, I'm not mad at you. Straight up. And then this fucking piece of shit shot her 3 times, killing her. And then this piece of shit calls her a fucking bitch. Why? And then the Trump administration say that this guy got run over and then he was bleeding internally. Motherfucker, you didn't get run over. Stop fucking lying. Everyone knows that the fucking Trump administration is fucking lying. And every time that this guy says this, that it was self-defense, that's what he needs to do. Please. This is just ridiculous, it just really angers me. And they say it was self-defense. It's funny how he defended the shooting. Trump's, it's active self-defense. And right now there's protests everywhere right now in the United States of America. Especially right now in Minneapolis. It's just protests are everywhere right now. What's his name? The mayor of Minneapolis went ballistic after what happened in Minneapolis, and here's what he had to say. Mayor Frey to ICE.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead. That's on you. And it's also on you to leave. It's on you to make sure that further damage, further loss of life and injury is not done. We're going to be working towards justice as quickly as we possibly can right now, and justice is what we've all got to get.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
That was Mayor Frey. And it's funny how Republicans were all saying, we were offended by your language. We should tone it down. Shut the fuck up. And he actually answered back. This is on CNN right now.
After you told ICE to get the F out of the city, I've seen a lot of Republicans here in Washington criticizing those comments, saying that you're escalating tensions with that. Can you respond to them, and what do you say to them tonight, people who criticize those comments?
I'm so sorry if I offended their Disney princess ears, but here's the thing. If we're talking about what's inflammatory, on the one hand, you got someone who dropped an F-bomb, and on the other hand, you got someone who killed somebody else. F-bomb, killing somebody. I think the more inflammatory action is killing somebody. And so, once again, let's be real and just honest and straight up about what's happening here. This is not okay. The way they're coming into cities, not just Minneapolis, but around the country, is not okay. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you should understand the importance of constitutional law enforcement. You should understand the importance of not discriminating based on race and randomly plucking people off the street because they're Somali or Latino. And especially from what we've seen, you should also understand the importance of de-escalating tense situations, not killing people and yanking out a gun. And so, again, I'm not going to preempt the investigation. It is important that we do that. And at the same time, you know, you want to make a big deal about an F-bomb, let's make a big deal about our Constitution. I think that's probably the better route.
And Mr. Mayor, you know,
it's funny how Republicans are all bitching and complaining about this dude's language. They were more offended by that than the actions of that fucking ICE agent. And you know, it's funny how then they asked JD Vance about what happened to this young lady. This is like by far the most asinine thing that this piece of shit so-called vice president said. And this is him right here. He calls her a deranged leftist, but there was no evidence of that. Listen to this fucking asshole said this. This is courtesy of CNN, by the way.
First of all, the Department of Justice is going to investigate this. The Department of Homeland Security is already investigating this. But the simple fact is...
That's not true. They're not going to investigate anything. He's just running his mouth.
What you see is what you get in this case. You have a woman who is trying to obstruct a legitimate law enforcement operation. Nobody debates that. You have a woman who aimed her car at a law enforcement officer and pressed on the accelerator. Nobody...
Not true. She was trying to get away. He didn't even touch this fucking piece of shit.
Nobody debates that. I can believe that her death is a tragedy while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of her own making and a tragedy of the far left who has marshaled an entire movement, a lunatic fringe against our law enforcement officers.
Whatever, motherfucker. That's not true. And you know, it's funny how the majority of the MAGAs are saying that what happened to Renee Good, they're all making fun of her. And they're all saying because of this is for Charlie Kirk and for Ashley Babbitt. Okay, what's the difference between Renee Good and that potato face, fuck face Charlie Kirk? The difference is Renee Good knowing for a fact that she knew that everything that was going on in this country was wrong, especially towards the immigrant community. And what did Charlie Kirk do? He just was a podcaster who was just promoting hate and division, saying all this racist stuff, but for the MAGA, oh, that's okay. He's just exercising his free speech. But when this fucker got killed, now they were saying that if you can't say shit about Charlie Kirk, people were getting fired, were getting suspended, all this nonsense just because they were saying about Charlie Kirk. If you compare Renee Good to Charlie Kirk, no, you are fucking wrong. Charlie Kirk was a sorry piece of shit. And then he knew that. And you know, it's funny how, and especially with Ashley Babbitt, that right there, Ashley Babbitt is to me, now that right there is the textbook definition of a fucking traitor to this great nation. And why do I say that? Because number one, she was in the military and she wanted to overturn the election. She was one of the people who was shot and killed on January 6th. But the only difference between Renee Good and Ashley Babbitt is that Renee Good was trying to get away from this fucker. And he shot her point blank in cold-blooded murder. Ashley Babbitt was going to go inside and try to hunt and kill, at that time, Vice President Mike Pence. And the agent shot her. But yet they say that was senseless violence, and then Trump was all like the stirring up shit, like always. He would just stirring up shit and try to get this guy go to jail. But in reality, they couldn't put any charges against this guy. But yet this guy with Jonathan Moss, oh, that's allowed. That's self-defense. Of course, they're going to defend the actions of this piece of shit. And look, there's more of this fucking cocksucker. What Vance keeps saying about this.
I think what is clearly happening here, and it's going to keep on happening unless the Democrats wake up and say, you know what, you don't have to agree with our immigration policies. You don't have to agree with what the president or the vice president believe about immigration enforcement. But why don't you take this to the ballot box? Why don't you vote? Why don't you organize? Instead, what some of them are doing.
Oh, come November of this year, the Democrats are going to fucking wipe the floor on both the Senate and the House of Representatives. You'll see, motherfucker.
What some of them are doing is encouraging people to get violent with our law enforcement officials. It's disgraceful, and it's got to stop.
So the head of Minnesota's investigations agency says that the U.S. Attorney's Office has essentially cut off the state investigations agency's access to the investigation. What is the precedent for that, and why shouldn't the Minnesota officials on the ground have access and evidence to work on this investigation?
First of all, I wish the state officials in Minnesota would investigate why you have so many people who are using their vehicles and other means to actually interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation. The precedent here is very simple. You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy is protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job. The idea that Tim Walz and a bunch of radicals in Minneapolis are going to go after and make this guy's life miserable because he was doing the job that he was asked to do is preposterous. The unprecedented thing is the idea that a local official can actually prosecute a federal official with absolute immunity. I've never seen anything like that. It would get tossed out by a judge. So what I'd like Minnesota to focus on is the real issue that they're encouraging people. Minneapolis officials are encouraging people to commit violence against ICE officials. It's ridiculous. It's got to stop.
Sir,
go ahead.
Mr. President, thank you. You said earlier that there's a left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and make it impossible for ICE officers to do their job. You told my colleague just now that there's an investigation going on into that network.
Yep.
So if everything that you say is true, how does being part of that network justify being shot?
Well, being part of the network doesn't justify being shot, but ramming an ICE officer with your car, that's what justifies being shot. It's not a good thing, by the way, but when you force somebody to engage in self-defense, it's almost a preposterous question. I'm not saying that funding some of this stuff justifies capital punishment. Nobody would suggest that. The reason this woman is dead is because she tried to ram somebody with her car, and that guy acted in self-defense.
No, it's not true. She was trying to drive away. How fucking blind can you be, dude? Actually, you are blind because of the fucking eyeliner you put on your eyes. That's why you can't see that. You pathetic fuck.
That is why she lost her life, and that is the tragedy. Now, there may be other violations of the law and other penalties that are associated with those violations of the law. For example, if you are funding violence against our law enforcement officers, I'm not a prosecutor. My guess is that's not the sort of thing that earns capital punishment, but it should sure as hell earn you a few years in prison if you're funding the effort to try to assault our law enforcement officers. What is, I'm sorry, guys, what's
Enough. I don't want to hear this pathetic asshole defending the actions of this guy. And afterwards they that this clueless twat, they did an interview with her, and look what the fuck she says. This is Christy None. This is courtesy of CNN.
I had just been in Minneapolis and had been with those officers, had seen what they were facing on the streets every day, and had talked to their supervisors as soon as the incident happened and had gotten the facts and seen videos before I ever went to talk at that press conference. And the Trump administration and President Trump is the most transparent and open government that we've ever had. Give the public.
Lady, I would love to ask you straight in your face. You're fucking lying.
Public the information, give them what they need to know about a situation so they can have the truth as soon as possible. If you look at what the definition of domestic terrorism is, it completely fits the situation on the ground. This individual, as you saw in the video that we released just 48 hours after this incident, showed that this officer was hit by her vehicle, she weaponized it, and he defended his life and those colleagues around him and the public.
This lady called Renee Good a domestic terrorist. Okay. If that's the case, lady, how come you don't call that to fucking Ashley Babbitt? or Jonathan Moss. That motherfucker's a terrorist right there. ICE, Christy, is the biggest terrorist group in this country right now. I can't believe you actually said that on TV. And with that stupid, pathetic, blank look on your face, you like to say, oh, she is domestic terrorism. Okay, why don't you say the exact same thing of the Ku Klux Klan? Why don't you say that? But yet you call a young lady who had nothing to do with, she was just driving away. The video is quite clear, motherfucker. And yet you call her a domestic terrorist? Oh my fucking God. You are a pathetic excuse for a human being. And yet you go on TV and then you go on CNN again, and then the reporter says the name of this fucking asshole, Jonathan Moss, and she, oh, don't say the name of our agents. They're gonna get doxxed, motherfucker. They already get doxxed right now. They already it's everywhere the address where he's at. And a young lady who found the address of this guy, you could see this guy was packing his shit, putting everything in his van, and running away like the fucking coward that he is. He got doxxed already. Just like this other cop here in Southern California, Isaiah Hodgson, he was fucking doxxed. And that's why when he got arrested for being a drunk asshole, and he was bitching and complaining to that cop, saying, I'm going to get doxxed and all that stuff. And then he OD'd, and because he probably didn't want to go to court and get sentenced, and he took the cowardly way out. He OD'd. And I don't feel bad for him. I don't feel bad for none of these agents that get doxxed. And you know, it's funny right now that, speaking of doxing, the MAGAs actually dox the 6-year-old kid of Renee Good. How pathetic can you be? And yet they make excuses, and they're doxing a 6-year-old kid. They want to go after a 6-year-old child, the son of a young lady who was murdered senselessly, and then the MAGAs right now, the right wing party, are doxing a 6-year-old kid. How pathetic can you be, motherfuckers? You're going after a kid. Why don't you go after Jonathan Moss, who is a fucking cold-blooded murderer? Why don't you go after him? But you're defending the actions, and that you want to go after a 6-year-old kid? You guys are monsters in my eyes. That to me is outright pathetic behavior from the MAGAs. But you know what? That's okay. And you know what's funny? Speaking of how they just doxed this kid. Right now, there's another thing that's going on right now. It says that approximately 2,000 ICE agents have quit in the days after the murder of Renee Good. It says that, but a lot of people, it doesn't fucking matter. You were there and we'll never forget. I'll never forget that, And it's funny that there's nothing I read here. Gen Z teens are reportedly exposing the identity of their ICE agents on TikTok. Because I've seen how they right now they're going after kids. They're also kidnapping kids without due process. The same thing is happening. And it's funny how right now anti-ICE protesters threw a bottle of piss inside a Border Patrol vehicle in Minnesota. And it's people are pissed, People are fucking pissed off about that. And it's funny how I mentioned before that people that join ICE, the only reason to do it is because of the money. It's $50,000 to get paid. But they got played. It says here that ICE new hires don't get the $50,000 until 5 years of service. The next administration has fired everyone hired after the 20th, the 20th of January of last year. Everybody. And it says here that and they don't like to. This lady says that you shouldn't name say the name of the ICE agent. Okay, Jonathan Ross killed Renee Good, and Brian Palacios killed Keith Porter. Brian Palacios shot, who was an off-duty ICE agent, shot Keith Porter on New Year's Eve. And it says here that ICE officials are reportedly worried about blue states and cities passing laws that restrict gun access to sex offenders because it would mean many of the ICE agents would have to do their jobs unarmed. And it's funny that the majority of all ICE agents, as I said before, are all white supremacists, January 6th conspiracy theorists, Latino Americans, the people who are like who are all racist to their own race, and that's what. Just imagine that. And there's also here, ICE agents are reportedly worried that the agency will be abolished in a bipartisan vote before 5 years, and none of them will get that $50,000 bonus. If ICE gets abolished, and you're not going to get your money, you got fucking played, motherfuckers, and I don't have any pity for you. You joined that, you knew what the fuck you were getting into. Now deal with it. You ain't going to get your money back. It's funny how ICE was created. It was created in March of 2003 under the fucking Bush administration. Now, I hate Trump with a passion, because I do. I'm sorry. But I hate Bush even more with a passion, because it was created under the Bush administration, ICE. And, it's funny. All this shit that's happening with these motherfuckers, people hate them. And right now, this is even more scarier right now. It says here that there's a lot of reports are saying that ICE is using unmarked vehicles with Uber stickers. Spread the word, stay safe. Oh my God. It says here that, oh my God. Because you know what? If that's the case, it will not surprise me that these motherfuckers are using Uber vehicles, because I know for a fact that the CEO of Uber has donated to the Trump administration millions and millions of dollars, but all this shit that's happening right now because of supposedly Somalis and all that stuff, like right wingers, especially podcasts, especially that young dude who want to go stir up shit, and all this shit is happening right now. And I actually saw a video that someone posted that I follow, who is very, very well known. He says that what's going on in Minnesota, if you think that what happened here last year in Los Angeles is going to get worse here, they're going to send more troops of ICE here to Los Angeles, here in Southern California. And, if you think about this for 1 second, ladies and gentlemen, this is something I've kind of noticed. How come, Texas is a red state. Everyone fucking knows that. And this pathetic fuck, Greg Abbott, is a Trump soy boy, and is a Trump lapdog. But how come you don't hear so much about ICE in red states? For example, like Texas, which other state? Like the South Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, etc. There's immigrants everywhere. But if you notice that there's always going after in the state of California, in the state of Minnesota, and I believe also New York. How come you see all these ICE activities going after these blue states? You know why? It's because since California, the biggest of them all, Minnesota, didn't vote for Trump in the past elections, and every other election that has happened has always gone blue. And seeing the actions of what's going on with ICE in both California, in Minnesota and California, is going to even lean more towards the blue. And Trump knows that. That's why he has like an issue, especially against Governor Walz, especially against Governor Newsom. It's just sad, all this shit that's happening right now. And the senseless killing of Renee Good, it just really breaks my heart, especially right now with all she left a wife, family, and kids. And these people right here, Trump, Vance, Kristi Noem, Miller, whatever happens to them afterwards. You know what though? I've actually gone older. Everyone pays the piper in this life, and these people are gonna pay for it. They're all smiling and smug, acting all arrogant and shit. But once this administration term ends, I believe that Trump, Vance, Noem, Miller should get charges for crimes against humanity because of what they're doing right now against people here in the United States right now. They're even, like I said, they're even stopping people. Even if it doesn't matter if you're a United States citizen, they'll fucking racial profile you. And my family is also worried. I'm worried for my friends. I'm worried, and my family is also worried about me, okay, because of what's going on with this administration. I know that, but I don't have time. Like I don't have time to go carry my birth certificate and all that stuff. I know my rights. Everyone knows their rights, and especially I've seen how they get people out of cars, and to me that to me is fucking. That's like next door, like. Huh. And it's funny how what happened, and I'm not saying funny as in, and what was the infuriating part? What's going on in Minnesota? It says here that ICE came to the door, the apartment of his brother-in-law Sally, broke down the door, trashed the place, handcuffed him, and put a gun to his daughter-in-law's head. They did not allow him to put on proper clothing, and they forced him outside and freezing him. He was wearing a bathrobe. He's a naturalized U.S. citizen. He has no criminal records. And ICE drove him for an hour, questioned him and fingerprint him. Only after they realized he had no criminal history and no reason to be detained. They dropped him off the apartment like nothing happened without even a fucking apology. And they look at the excuse they say. We believe that they were looking for someone who previously lived there, but instead of asking for identification, they chose violence and intimidation, humiliation. You can see that the guy was in the freezing weather. They trashed the place. Fucking ICE. they get him out of the on his bathrobe. The Hmong American. This is fucking unacceptable. This is fucking unacceptable what's going on with ICE right now. Someone needs to put a stop to these guys. A fucking stop. It just really angers me. And then people are going to say, oh, they're just doing their job. Okay. And right now, since the MAGAs are all for like the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, and right now they're getting armed. Even the Black Panthers are showing up in Minnesota, and that now they're bitching and complaining that they shouldn't have weapons. Why? It only goes. It goes. They say that it's not right. Why? Just because they have they're Democrats, they don't believe that they have the right to bear arms. Are you fucking kidding me? And look at this pathetic fuck right here. Eric Doherty, whatever his name is. It says here that leftists in Minneapolis are getting armed and standing guard against ICE. Mr. Tough Guy wouldn't last 2 seconds. This is what Tim Walz and Mayor Frey won a shootout. Charged him. Why? And I told him, I thought you were all for the Second Amendment. I guess it doesn't apply for Democrats who own guns. Hypocrisy at its finest. And then my good friend Matt Zion, he said, 100% correct. They will sell out any views or morals as long as it is the left. They believe in nothing except whatever pleases daddy. But as I said, though, this is beyond ridiculous what's going on with ICE right now. And these people, they should be charged with crimes against humanity. I know whatever happens in 2028. Right now, the midterm elections are coming up very soon. We're not that far away from November. But whatever happens, they have to pay for all the fucking harm that they're doing to this community, to this country right now. They think they're acting on they think they're doing good in their twisted, pathetic fantasy world they live in. They believe they are doing good. but they're not actually. They're doing harm, especially to minorities. And all I can say is just enough's enough. And what happened to, like I said, to Renee Good, your death will not be in vain. I'm sorry what happened to you, and I'm very, very sorry that you were shot and killed in cold-blooded murder by a guy who pretended to be law enforcement, when in reality he's not even real law enforcement. All the people who are in ICE, especially how they react, are probably people who are people who fail at being a cop or couldn't join the army, and now they want to take out their frustrations on minorities. And when they pretend they're wearing that badge and they take it out on minorities, beat them and tase them, and especially how they treat women, how they manhandle women, they're all fucking cowards to me, you know? So to Renee Good, may you rest in peace, and your death will not be in vain. And yeah, so that about wraps up for this week's podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry if I got carried away a little bit. It's because it just really bothers me what's going on with the whole situation in ICE. So I will see you all next week, and have a good night.